Hi, I'm Elena. I'm 28 years old. 3 months ago, during what was supposed to be a normal family dinner, my sister Valentina stood up and announced her engagement. The room erupted in applause, laughter, even tears. I waited patiently for the noise to settle, my heart pounding with the excitement of finally sharing my own news, that I had just been promoted to senior architect after years of burning the candle at both ends. I barely got 2 words out before my mother raised her glass and said, "Let's keep the focus on what really matters tonight," and turned all attention back to Valentina. My voice disappeared mid-sentence. No one noticed. That was the moment it hit me. I wasn't the daughter they celebrated. I was the footnote. The afterthought. The ghost at the table, watching someone else's story unfold in a life that was supposed to include me too. But then yesterday I got a call. From my father. Panic in his voice. Desperation. Now suddenly they need me. Funny how things change when the favorite child can't fix it. If you've ever been betrayed by those you loved most, drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're ready to hear how I finally stood up for myself after years of manipulation. The dinner happened on a Tuesday, which should have been ordinary. I'd driven 3 hours from Portland to attend what my mother called a special family gathering. I should have known better. In the Rossetti household, special always meant about Valentina. I arrived at the familiar craftsman house with its perfectly manicured garden that my mother spent more time photographing than enjoying. The front door still bore the same brass nameplate, the Rossetti family estate. 1995, the year my parents bought the house, coincidentally the same year Valentina was born. I was already 3 then, but somehow never made it onto that plaque. Inside, the dining room table was set with the good china, the kind reserved for holidays and Valentina's achievements. My sister sat at the head of the table like a queen holding court, her engagement ring catching the light from the crystal chandelier. She'd positioned herself perfectly, I noticed, so the ring would be visible in every photo. "Elena!" My mother, Francesca, called out as I entered. "Finally. We were just about to start without you." I checked my phone. I was actually 5 minutes early. My father, Marcus, barely looked up from his wine. "Traffic from Portland bad?" he asked absently, already knowing he wouldn't wait for an answer. Actually, it was fine. I wanted to share some news too. "Oh, how wonderful!" Valentina interrupted, clasping her hands together. "But first, you simply must hear about the proposal. Michael surprised me at the Botanical Gardens, the same place where we had our first date. There was a string quartet, and he'd arranged for rose petals to be scattered along the entire path. It was like something out of a movie." I smiled and nodded, playing my role perfectly. The supportive older sister, the reliable one who always listened. I'd been practicing this part for 25 years. Francesca dabbed at her eyes with her cloth napkin. "It was the most romantic thing I've ever heard. Elena, you should take notes for when your time comes." "When my time comes?" As if I were waiting in line for my turn at happiness. "That sounds beautiful, Val," I said, using the nickname she'd allowed me since childhood. "I'm really happy for you both. And actually, I have some exciting news to share too. I got promoted too. The wedding planning is going to be intense," Francesca continued, completely steamrolling over my words. "We're thinking spring, perhaps April or May. The weather will be perfect for outdoor photos." Marcus finally engaged, leaning forward. "What's the budget looking like? I'll need to move some investments around." I sat there, fork halfway to my mouth, watching my family plan Valentina's future while mine hung in the air, unacknowledged. This wasn't new. This was the pattern refined over decades of practice. "I got promoted to senior architect," I said louder this time, setting down my fork with enough force to create a small clink against the plate. 3 pairs of eyes turned to me. Valentina's smile faltered for just a moment before reassembling itself. Francesca looked mildly annoyed at the interruption. Marcus raised his eyebrows as if surprised I was still there. "That's nice, dear," Francesca said in the tone she usually reserved for commenting on weather. "Now about the venue. I was thinking the grand ballroom at the Fairmont. It has those gorgeous floor-to-ceiling windows. That's nice. 27 years of education, 5 years of working 60-hour weeks, landing the biggest promotion in my firm's history, and it rated a "that's nice." I tried again. The promotion comes with a 40% salary increase and my own team of 12 people. I'll be the youngest senior architect in the company's history. Valentina tilted her head with practiced sympathy. Elena, sweetie, we're trying to focus on the wedding planning right now. There'll be plenty of time to talk about work stuff later. Work stuff? As if my career were a hobby I picked up on weekends. Let's keep the focus on what really matters tonight, Francesca said, raising her wine glass. To Valentina and Michael and to the beautiful life they're building together. The glasses clinked. Mine stayed on the table. I excused myself to the bathroom and stood in front of the mirror that had watched me grow up. The same mirror where I'd practiced acceptance speeches for awards I'd never receive, where I'd rehearsed conversations where my parents actually listened. My reflection looked tired, older than 28, like someone who'd been holding her breath for decades. When I returned to the table, they were deep in discussion about flower arrangements. I finished my dinner in silence, occasionally nodding when someone looked in my direction. After dessert, I helped clear the table, the one job that was always mine. In the kitchen, loading the dishwasher, I overheard Francesca on the phone with her sister. "Oh, Maria, you should have seen Valentina tonight. Absolutely glowing. The ring is stunning, 3 carats, princess cut. Marcus and I are so proud." A pause. "Elena?" "Oh, she's fine. Still doing her architecture thing in Portland. Nothing too exciting to report." Her architecture thing. 8 years of education, professional licenses, awards from the American Institute of Architects, and it was my thing. I dried my hands and walked back to the living room where my family had gathered around Valentina's laptop, scrolling through Pinterest boards of wedding inspiration. No one looked up when I entered. "I should head back," I announced. "Early morning tomorrow." "Drive safe," Marcus said without turning around. "Text when you get home," Francesca added absently, then immediately returned to debating the merits of peonies versus garden roses. Valentina walked me to the door, her engagement ring sparkling under the porch light. "Thanks for coming, Elena. It means so much to have family support." Family support. I'd been providing that my entire life, like a one-person cheering section for someone who'd never once attended my performances. "Congratulations again," I said, meaning it despite everything. "Michael's a good guy." "The best," she beamed. "You know, I was thinking, for the wedding party I'd love for you to be involved. Maybe you could do a reading during the ceremony? Something meaningful but not too long." "A reading? Not maid of honor, not even a bridesmaid. A reading?" "I'll think about it," I said, knowing I'd say yes eventually. I always did. The drive back to Portland felt longer than usual. I kept replaying the evening, particularly that moment when Francesca raised her glass to what really matters. Had I imagined the slight emphasis on really? Was I being oversensitive, or had my mother just publicly declared that my achievements didn't matter? By the time I reached my apartment, a converted loft in the Pearl District that I'd saved 3 years to afford, it was past midnight. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my balcony overlooking the city lights. Portland spread out below me like a circuit board, all those illuminated windows representing lives being lived, dreams being pursued, people being seen. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through Valentina's Instagram. She'd already posted 7 photos from dinner, each one carefully curated to capture the perfect moment. In the background of one shot, I could see my hand reaching for the salt, the only evidence I'd been there at all. The comments poured in, so exciting. "Beautiful ring. Can't wait for the wedding. You're so lucky." I typed out a comment, "Congrats, sis. Also excited to share that I got promoted to senior architect today." But I deleted it before posting. Even in the digital space, my news felt like an intrusion on her moment. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about patterns. How many family dinners had followed this exact script? How many of my accomplishments had been dismissed, redirected, or simply ignored? When had I become so comfortable being invisible? I thought about my college graduation. Summa cum laude, Architectural Honor Society, full scholarship to graduate school. Valentina had been a senior in high school then, stressed about prom dress shopping. Guess which crisis got more attention that weekend? Or when I won the Emerging Architect Award 3 years ago. The ceremony was the same night as Valentina's work presentation, her first big project as a marketing coordinator. Francesca chose to attend Valentina's PowerPoint over my award ceremony. "Family first," she'd said when I expressed disappointment. "Valentina really needs our support right now." But when did family first become Valentina first? And when did I become so grateful for scraps of attention that I'd convinced myself this was normal? The next morning brought clarity with the coffee. I called in sick to work, something I'd done maybe 5 times in my entire career, and spent the day doing something I'd never done before. I made a list. Every significant moment in my life from the past 10 years. Every achievement, every milestone, every time I'd needed support. Next to each one, I wrote down my family's response. The pattern wasn't just clear, it was devastating. Architectural license earned, family dinner canceled for Valentina's stomach flu. First apartment purchased, overshadowed by Valentina's new haircut reveal. Published in Architectural Digest, same week Valentina started dating Michael. Promotion to project manager, during Valentina's birthday week, which lasted approximately 3 weeks. The list went on for 4 pages. 4 pages of being systematically erased, minimized, or ignored. But the promotion to senior architect was different. This wasn't just career advancement, it was validation that I'd built something meaningful despite, not because of, my family's support. I'd done it alone, which made it entirely mine. That afternoon, I called my best friend Jessica, who'd known me since architecture school. "Jess, can I ask you something honest?" "Always." "Do you think I'm oversensitive about my family?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Elena, do you remember when you won the Emerging Architect Award?" "Of course. You called me crying because your mom missed the ceremony for Valentina's work thing. And you were apologizing to me for being upset. You were apologizing for wanting your mother to witness your biggest professional achievement." She said Valentina needed. "Elena." Jess's voice was firm. "Your sister was 25 years old giving a presentation about social media strategy to 12 people. You were receiving recognition from the American Institute of Architects. The math isn't complicated." She was right. The math wasn't complicated. I'd just spent so many years making excuses for it that I'd lost the ability to see the equation clearly. That evening, I did something unprecedented. I posted about my promotion on social media. Not as a comment on someone else's post, not buried in a caption about something else. A standalone post with a photo of me at my new office, celebrating my achievement. The response was overwhelming. Colleagues, friends, even former professors congratulated me. The comments kept coming, so well deserved. Incredible achievement. Youngest senior architect ever, amazing. My family's silence was deafening. Not a single like, comment, or message from any of them. 3 days later, Francesca called. "Elena dear, I saw your Facebook post about the work thing. That's lovely, but I wanted to talk to you about something more important. Valentina's engagement party is next month, and we need to discuss your role." "The work thing." Again. "My promotion," I corrected. "To senior architect." "Yes, that. Now about the engagement party." I let her talk while I stared out my office window at the Portland skyline. Somewhere in that maze of buildings were other senior architects, other people who'd worked their entire lives to reach this level. Were their mothers calling their promotions work things? "Mom," I interrupted. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetheart." "What do you tell people when they ask about me?" "What do you mean?" "When your friends ask about your daughters, what do you say about me?" She paused. "I tell them you're an architect in Portland." You're doing well. And what do you tell them about Valentina? Another pause, longer this time. Well, she's getting married to a wonderful man, she's got that marketing job she loves, she's thinking about starting her own consulting business. The difference was stark. Valentina got a story, a narrative, a future. I got a job title and a city. I have to go, I said. I'm in a meeting. I wasn't in a meeting. I was sitting alone in my office, finally understanding that I'd been trying to win a game where the rules were written before I was born. That weekend, I drove to Seattle to visit my maternal grandmother, Nana Rosa. At 84, she was the only family member who'd consistently celebrated my achievements. Her small apartment was filled with photos of her grandchildren, but I noticed something I'd never paid attention to before. The photos of me were prominently displayed, while Valentina's were mixed in with cousins and family friends. Nana, I said over espresso and her homemade biscotti, can I ask you something? Sempre, cara mia. Do you think I'm invisible in this family? She set down her cup and studied my face with those sharp brown eyes that seemed to see everything. Your mother, she said slowly, she was the middle child, always fighting for attention with her two sisters. When Valentina was born, so beautiful so. She gestured vaguely, come si dice dramatic? Dramatic, yes. Your mother, she sees herself in Valentina. The beautiful one, the one who gets noticed. You, Elena, you are like your grandfather. Quiet strength, deep thinking. But quiet strength, it doesn't make noise, see? I nodded, feeling something unlock in my chest. Your nano, he built half the buildings in this neighborhood. But he never bragged, never made the big show. Your mother, she doesn't understand this kind of strength. She only sees the sparkle. So what do I do? Nana leaned forward and took my hands. You stop performing for an audience that doesn't see you. You build your life for yourself, not for their approval. That night in Nana's guest room, I made a decision. I would stop trying to fit into their story and start writing my own. The opportunity came sooner than expected. 2 weeks later, Francesca called about Valentina's engagement party details. The family had planned an elaborate celebration at the country club, complete with a photographer, catered dinner, and a slideshow of Valentina and Michael's relationship. We'd like you to put together a little speech about Valentina, Francesca said. You know, sisterly memories, how proud you are, that sort of thing. What about my own news? I asked. Will there be time to mention my promotion? Oh, Elena, this isn't really the venue for work announcements. This is Valentina's night. And there it was. The final confirmation that my achievements would always be secondary, always inappropriate timing, always work things that disrupted more important matters. I don't think I can make it, I said. Silence. What do you mean you can't make it? I have a work commitment that weekend. Elena, this is your sister's engagement party. Surely your job can wait one evening. My job. The career I'd spent 15 years building was something that could just wait. No, I said simply. It can't. I don't understand. What could possibly be more important than family? That question hung in the air like smoke. What could be more important than family? How about a family that actually saw me as important? I'm sorry, Mom. Send Valentina my love. I hung up. Within an hour, my phone exploded. Texts from Francesca, Marcus, even Valentina herself. The messages ranged from disappointed to angry to manipulative. Francesca, I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but this selfishness has to stop. Marcus, your sister needs your support right now. Don't let work come between family. Valentina, I can't believe you're choosing your job over my engagement party. I thought you cared about me. I read each message and felt nothing. No guilt, no second-guessing, no impulse to apologize and fix things. Just clarity. That weekend, while my family celebrated Valentina's engagement, I attended a conference in San Francisco about sustainable architecture. I gave a presentation about my latest project to 300 industry professionals. The reception was incredible. People wanted to talk, to collaborate, to learn from my work. That evening, I posted a photo from the conference with the caption, "Grateful to share my passion for sustainable design with this amazing community. Being surrounded by people who share your vision makes all the difference." The engagement party photos appeared on social media the next day. Elegant, expensive, perfectly orchestrated. I found myself scanning the images, looking for any acknowledgement of my absence. There was none. The family story continued seamlessly without me. But I also noticed something else. Without me there to make the speech, to help with logistics, to play my supporting role, other people had to step up. Cousins gave speeches. Friends helped with coordination. The world didn't end because Elena wasn't there to hold it together. 3 months passed. I threw myself into work, built new friendships with colleagues, traveled to conferences, even started dating someone, David, a fellow architect who actually listened when I talked about my projects. For the first time in my adult life, I was building a life where I was the protagonist, not the supporting character. My family's check-ins became sporadic, then rare. No one called to ask how I was adjusting to my new role. No one wanted to hear about the sustainable housing project I was leading. The silence should have hurt, but it felt more like relief. Like finally being able to exhale after holding my breath for 28 years. Then yesterday happened. I was reviewing blueprints in my office when my phone rang. Marcus's name appeared on the screen, unusual since he rarely called me directly. "Elena? Thank God you answered." His voice sounded strained, almost panicked. "Dad? What's wrong?" "It's Valentina. The wedding's off." I set down my pencil. "What happened?" "Michael, we found out he's been having an affair. Has been for months. Valentina's devastated. She's not eating, barely getting out of bed. Your mother's at her wit's end." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and I meant it. Whatever my issues with my family, I didn't want Valentina to suffer. "We need you to come home," he continued. "Valentina's asking for you specifically. She says she needs her sister." The irony wasn't lost on me. After months of silence, suddenly they needed me. Suddenly I was important enough to call. "What about work?" I asked. "Surely this is more important than work," he said, unknowingly echoing the exact words that had driven me away. "Let me think about it," I said. "Elena, your sister is falling apart. This isn't the time to think. This is the time to be family." Be family. As if I hadn't been trying to do exactly that my entire life. After we hung up, I sat in my office as the sun set over Portland. The city lights began to twinkle, each one representing someone living their life, making their choices, writing their own story. I thought about the Elena who would have dropped everything and rushed home. The Elena who would have spent her weekend playing therapist, cheerleader, and emotional support system. The Elena who would have temporarily abandoned her own life to help Valentina rebuild hers. That Elena was gone. The Elena sitting in this office had learned that families are supposed to work both ways. That love isn't just about showing up when someone needs you, it's about being seen when you need them. It's about celebrating successes, not just managing crises. I called David and told him about the situation. "Are you going?" he asked. "I don't know. Part of me wants to help. She is my sister." "And the other part?" "The other part remembers that they only call when they need something. They've never called just to see how I'm doing, to celebrate my successes, or to be part of my life. Only when their world falls apart and they need someone to help clean up the pieces." "What does your gut tell you?" I looked out at the Portland skyline, at the city where I'd built a life where I mattered, where my work was valued, where people saw me. My gut tells me that if I go running back now, nothing will change. I'll slip right back into the role of Elena the helper, Elena the fixer, Elena the one who puts everyone else's needs first. Then you have your answer. That night, I crafted a text message to my family group chat. "I'm sorry to hear about Michael and Valentina. Breakups are always difficult, especially when wedding plans are involved. I recommend professional counseling for Valentina to help her process this betrayal and loss. I won't be coming home right now, but I'm sending my love and support from Portland. The response was immediate and explosive. Francesca, I cannot believe you're abandoning your sister when she needs you most. Marcus, this is not the Elena we raised. Family comes first, always. Valentina, I guess I know where I stand with you. When you needed us, we were always there. That last message made me laugh out loud, which probably wasn't the healthiest response. When had they been there for me? When I was stressed about graduate school. When I was working 100-hour weeks on my first big project. When I was nervous about my promotion interview. I scrolled back through years of text messages, looking for evidence of their support during my difficult times. The pattern was clear. During my struggles, the family group chat was usually silent or focused on other topics. But the moment Valentina faced any challenge, the conversation exploded with support, advice, and demands that everyone drop everything to help. I turned off my phone and ran a bath. The next morning brought more messages, but the tone had shifted. Now they were trying guilt and manipulation. Francesca, your grandmother is very disappointed in your behavior. She asked why you won't help your sister. This gave me pause. Nana Rosa had been my strongest supporter. I called her directly. Nana, Mom said you're disappointed in me for not coming home to help Valentina. Che cosa? What? I never said this thing. She said you asked why I won't help. Elena, Cara, I told your mother maybe you are finally learning to put yourself first. She didn't like this very much. Relief flooded through me. Even my grandmother understood what I was doing. I'm scared I'm being selfish, I admitted. Selfishness is taking without giving. What you are doing is stopping the giving to people who only take. This is not selfish. This is smart. Over the following weeks, the pressure intensified. Flying monkeys came out of the woodwork, cousins I hadn't heard from in years suddenly calling to tell me how worried they were about Valentina. Family friends reached out on social media to express their concern about my absence during this difficult time. But something interesting happened. The more pressure they applied, the clearer my decision became. Each guilt trip, each manipulation attempt, each demand that I sacrifice my peace for their crisis only reinforced that I'd made the right choice. Meanwhile, my life in Portland flourished. The sustainable housing project I was leading got featured in Architectural Review magazine. David and I grew closer. I started teaching a weekend workshop for young architects at the local community college. I was building something beautiful, something that reflected my values and vision. 2 months after Valentina's breakup, I received an unexpected call from my cousin Sophia, who lived in Italy and only visited the family every few years. She'd always been the family truth teller, the one who saw through the drama. Elena, I heard about Valentina's situation. I also heard you're not running home to fix it. That's right. Good for you. I wasn't expecting that response. Really? Elena, do you know what the family says about you when you're not around? My stomach clenched. I'm not sure I want to know. They complain that you're too serious, too focused on work, not fun like Valentina. But then the moment they need something done, something organized, someone reliable, it's always call Elena. You've been their unpaid therapist and personal assistant for years. Sophia's words crystallized something I'd been feeling but couldn't articulate. I wasn't valued as a person, I was valued as a function. What do you think I should do? What you're doing. Live your life. Let them figure out their own problems. Valentina is 25 years old. She'll survive a breakup without her sister flying in to hold her hand. That conversation liberated me from the last vestiges of guilt I'd been carrying. But the story wasn't over. Last week, I received a call that changed everything. Not from my immediate family, but from my father's brother, Uncle Antonio, who managed the family's construction business. Elena, I need to talk to you about something important. Can we meet? We met at a coffee shop in downtown Portland when he was in town for business. I've been watching what's happening with the family, he said without preamble. And I think there's something you should know. He pulled out a folder. Your grandfather, your father's father, left a trust for his grandchildren's education and professional development. The money was supposed to be divided between you and Valentina when you reached certain milestones. I frowned. I never knew about any trust. That's because your parents never told you. They used your portion to pay for Valentina's college, her car, her apartment deposit after graduation. They said you were more financially responsible and didn't need the help. The coffee shop noise faded to background static. How much? $80,000. Plus interest over the years, it would be close to $120,000 now. I stared at the documents he slid across the table. My name was clearly listed as a beneficiary. My grandfather had provided for my future, and my parents had stolen it to fund Valentina's lifestyle. Why are you telling me this now? Because your father called me last week. He wanted to access the remainder of the trust, Valentina's portion, to help her get back on her feet after the breakup. When I refused and told him the money was specifically designated for education and professional development, he got angry. He said the family had already made sacrifices for their daughters' futures. Uncle Antonio leaned forward. Elena, I've managed this trust for 20 years. No sacrifices were made. They stole from you to pay for her, and now they want to steal her portion too. The betrayal was breathtaking in its completeness. Not only had they systematically erased and minimized me, they'd literally stolen my inheritance to elevate Valentina. What can I do? The trust is legally ironclad. I can release your portion whenever you're ready. Your grandfather specifically wanted to support his grandchildren's professional growth. He'd be proud of what you've built. That evening, I sat in my apartment with the trust documents spread across my dining table. $120,000. Money that could have paid for graduate school without student loans, that could have funded my startup costs when I went freelance, that could have been a down payment on a house. Instead, it had paid for Valentina's sorority fees, her spring break trips, her designer wardrobe for job interviews she didn't take seriously because she'd never had to worry about money. The theft wasn't just financial, it was symbolic. Even my grandfather's love and investment in my future had been redirected to Valentina. I called Uncle Antonio. I want to claim the trust. Good. I'll start the paperwork. And I want you to document exactly how much was taken from my portion and when. Elena, that could cause serious family problems. The family problems already exist. I'm just finally acknowledging them. Yesterday, the trust transfer was completed. $120,000 appeared in my account, money that had been mine all along. But more than the financial windfall, it was validation. My grandfather had seen my potential, had invested in my future, had believed I was worth supporting. My parents' theft hadn't just been about money. It had been about deciding which granddaughter deserved investment and which one should be grateful for scraps. This morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from my family. 17. Uncle Antonio had apparently informed them that the trust had been claimed and by whom. The voicemails were predictable: anger, accusations, demands that I think about the family and consider Valentina's needs. The final voicemail was from Valentina herself, her voice raw with tears. Elena, I don't understand why you're doing this. We're family. Family helps each other. I'm going through the worst time of my life and you're worried about money? I thought you were better than that. I thought you loved me. I listened to each message while drinking coffee on my balcony, watching Portland wake up below me. The city hummed with energy, with people pursuing their dreams, building their lives, creating value. Then I deleted them all. I'm not angry anymore. Anger requires investment, requires the belief that things could be different. I'm simply done. Done performing for an audience that will never applaud. Done sacrificing my peace for people who wouldn't sacrifice their comfort for mine. Done setting myself on fire to keep them warm. This afternoon, I'm meeting with a financial advisor to discuss investment options for the trust money. Tomorrow, I'm presenting my sustainable housing project to a panel of international investors. Next month, David and I are taking a vacation to Barcelona to study Gaudi's architecture. I'm building a life where I am seen, valued, and celebrated. Where my achievements matter not because they're useful to others, but because they're expressions of who I am. My family will survive without me. They always have. Valentina will recover from her breakup, probably faster than they think. Other family members will step up to provide the emotional support and practical help they've always expected from me. And I will continue building something beautiful, not just buildings, but a life worth living. A life where I'm not the supporting character in someone else's story, but the author of my own. The grandfather I never got to know left me more than money. He left me permission to invest in myself, to believe I was worth supporting, to claim space in a world that tried to make me invisible. I'm Elena Rossetti. I'm 28 years old. I'm a senior architect. I'm building my own legacy. And I'm finally completely visible to the person who matters most, myself. If you've ever been the family ghost, the one who gives and gives until there's nothing left, know this: you deserve to be seen. You deserve to have your achievements celebrated. You deserve a family that shows up for your joy, not just your utility. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop enabling others to take you for granted. Sometimes the most family-oriented choice is choosing yourself. Have you ever had to choose between being family and being yourself? Share your story below. Maybe your words will be the permission someone else needs to finally step into the light.